Good evening. Welcome to the 614th Planning Commission meeting tonight, Tuesday, March 11th, 2025, which is being held virtually through Zoom. I ask that everyone on the call keep your mics muted unless speaking and state your name when you do speak. Commissioners will also need to state their name before they make a motion. The agenda and application materials can be found online at the cityoflaurel.org. If technical difficulties arise, and I'm sure they won't, we will suspend the meeting while staff attempts to resolve the issues. If we're unable to resolve the issues in a timely manner, the meeting shall be postponed. We thank you for your patience and apologize for any potential miscues tonight. Welcome everyone to our meeting. Thanks everybody for being here. And Ms. Quillen, if you could call the roll.
Council President Clark. Here. Mr. Welford. I see you. I know you're here. Mr. Grant. Mr. Spalding.
Here.
Mr. Kish.
Here.
Mr. Smith.
Here.
Chairman Wilson.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. You all have gotten a copy of the minutes from our December 12th meeting. If you have any comments or questions or additions or deletions, or I'll take a motion.
Chairman Wilson, this is Bill Welford, and I would like to make a motion to accept the minutes as they were received from staff with no changes.
Thank you, Mr. Welford. Do I have a second? I need a second, Mr. Kish.
I second the motion.
Okay,
Stanley
thank you,
Spalding.
thank you, Mr. Spalding. Ms. Quillen, please call the roll.
Mr. Welford.
Yes.
Mr. Spalding.
Yes.
Mr. Kish.
Yep. You're muted, John.
I abstain. I wasn't at that meeting.
Mr. Smith.
I also abstain since I'm new.
Chairman Wilson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Going to move to agenda item number 3, the final site and landscape plan application and resolution number 25-01-PC for 14251 and 14275 Park Center Drive, as filed by CPJ Associates. And I don't know who I'm turning this over to. Mr. Burrows?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, and Councilman Woman Clark. This is Monte Burrow, Director of Economic and Community Development, presenting the staff report. Zoning final site and landscape application and resolution 2501 PC for 14251 and 14275 Park Center Drive was filed on December 6, 2024 to construct 82 townhomes on 2 currently vacant lots that total 8.2 acres. Under the date of January 9th, 2025, a site plan, drawings, and cover letter asking for comments were sent to state and local agencies, and a memorandum was sent to the City of Laurel Department. Comments from the local, state, and City of Laurel departments are stated in the staff report. Under the date of January 27, 2025, a letter explaining the nature of the application and advising of the scheduled hearing before the City of Laurel Planning Commission was sent by standard mail of all contingent property owners. Affidavit and email was sent to staff to ensure letters were mailed. The applicant has drafted their own set of yard and lot coverage regulation as shown in the tables on page 7 of the staff report. Some of the proposed regulations, such as minimum lot width ranging from 16 to 21 feet, minimum front yard depth ranging from 10 to 18 feet, minimum rear yard depth range from 18 to 20 feet, and a 1,200 square foot minimum net lot area per dwelling unit are unique only to the application and are not found in the schedule of area, yard, and height regulation for residential uses in the Unified Land Development Code. Just to note, for affordable housing, the applicant is proposing to have up to 6 dwellings, or approximately 7% of the total proposed unit dedicated to workforce housing, moderate income housing, or age-restricted housing. For parking, the applicant proposes at least 3 spaces per unit, which comply with the parking regulations found in the Unified Land Development Code. These spaces will provide through a combination of garage spaces, driveway spaces, and off-street parking lots. The applicant will also be required to provide 1 level 2 EV charging outlets per unit. For green space, the applicant is proposing 2 areas on the property as dedicated open space for a total of approximately 23,800 square feet. Staff recommends that the City of Laurel Planning Commission approve final zoning site and landscape application and resolution 2501 PC for 14251 and 14275 Park Center Drive with the following conditions. 1, the applicant shall obtain final record plat approval from the Planning Commission. The applicant shall comply with all conditions of the approved final site and landscape. The applicant shall comply with all federal, state, and local laws and regulations for the protection of the use of the property. On the final plat, all the proposed streets and roadways within the subdivision shall be shown to be private, and a note on the plan should state that all streets, sidewalks, curb and gutters, trees, and all structures within the subdivision shall be maintained by the homeowner association for this subdivision. Prior to the submission of the final plat, the applicant engineer should provide plans to the City Department of Public Works and receive approval in said plans by the Department of Public Works for A, landscape street lights along Park Center Drive, sectional details, specification for construction of new proposed concrete sidewalks along Park Center Drive to comply with Prince George's County standards. A topographical survey report indicating the proposed elevation of new sidewalks, curb and gutter, concrete driveways, aprons, and 2 ADA ramps. The driveway entrance in the community for the public right-of-way should be constructed of concrete to the Prince George's County standards. E, construction details of the entrance and curb and gutter. F, details of the concrete ramps to comply with ADA standards included without limitation warning plans. Number 6, prior to the issuance of any building or grading permits for the subject property, the applicant shall submit to the City Department of Public Works the sum of $150,000 for traffic signals improvement at the Van Dusen Road intersection at Laurel Park Drive to reduce traffic congestion resulting from traffic added to this intersection by the proposed development. Number 7, prior to the issuance of any building or grading permit for the subject property, the applicant shall submit to the city's Department of Recreation the sum of $50,225 as the fee in lieu of park and recreation facilities. Number 8, all street and roads to be constructed and or improved within and or required by the development approval for this proposed development shall be in accordance with Article number 6 of the Laurel City Code, roads and sidewalks, and the design construction standard reference therein. The roadway shall be a width of 30 feet from face of curb to face of curb, or such other width as may be permitted by the Planning Commission in accordance to the city zoning regulation, subdivision regulation, and other applicable law. Number 9, 6 of the dwelling units upon the subject property shall be dedicated as workforce housing, moderate income housing, and or age restricted housing as those terms are described in the applicable law and or regulation. Number 10, each townhome upon the subject property with a separate garage, carport, or driveway shall be equipped with 1 level 2 EV charging unit. And number 11, prior to the submission of the final record plat, the applicant shall submit to the city's Department of Economic Development a draft set of covenants which shall run with the land to the benefit of current and future owners, and as well as the city of Laurel, which shall, at a minimum, state that the open space upon the subject property is restricted to park and recreation purposes, and that proper and adequate maintenance of the open space upon the subject property shall be the responsibility of the owners of the dwelling units upon the subject property. Said covenants shall also include language required that the covenants, including the requirements set forth within the covenants, shall not be amended or eliminated without prior written permission of the mayor and the city of Laurel, city council of the city of Laurel. And lastly, number 12, prior to the issue of any building or grading permit for the subject property, A, the above referenced covenant shall be recorded in the land records for the Prince George's County with proof thereof provided to the city of Department of Economic and Community Development, and B, documents establishing a homeowner association for the future residents of the subject property shall be drafted and approved by the City Department of Economic and Community Development and shall be submitted to the approved by the Maryland State Department of Assessment and Taxation. That concludes the reading of my report. Thank you. And I'm here for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Burrows. I just have a couple real quick, and then we can go around to the other commissioners. The first one is, as far as the roads are concerned, these roads will not be owned by the city. They'll be HOA maintained roads, right?
I believe so, and the applicant is also to verify that, but I believe so, yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the report said. So
Yeah.
we won't be doing the, plowing for snow and maintaining the roads and all that.
Right.
So, and when people buy into this development, they will know that we've run into this in the past in the city where 20 years down the road, people will say, why isn't the city taking care of my roads? I just wanted to know how does the potential buyer in this development know that this is HOA roads being maintained in parks?
It should be in the covenant, and I can verify and give that to you, but it should be in the covenant that what the HOA will be maintained.
Okay. And my last question is relative to the workforce housing. I've often wondered, how does that work with your department, Mr. Director Burrows? How does the developer basically get credit that they've sold a unit? How do you keep track of that?
We keep track of that by they will submit us paperwork stating what homes are allotted for the workforce also. And also they go by, we give them information about HUD, and that would, give them the threshold of what, they can sell those units for.
And how long do they have to execute that?
If I had to talk off time, I would say within the completion of the site, they would let us know which units are.
Okay. So we have a way of verifying that those were sold at whatever the HUD values say it should be sold at.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's great. Thank you very much. Let me open it up. Mr. Kish, you have any questions?
You asked all three of them, but we'll go back to those six dwellings again. Was there something in there about senior citizens also?
I believe it's the age restricted homes.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Is that all, Mr. Kish?
That's all I have. You got the other ones.
Okay. Mr. Welford?
No questions. Thank you.
Mr. Grant? Mr. Grant?
Mr. Wilson, Mr. Grant is not on tonight.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Mr. Spalding?
No, I don't have any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Spalding. Mr. Smith?
Yes, I do have just a couple quick questions. Well, one question is within that property, there's fencing that backs the villages of Wellington community and those neighbors. a part of this development, will they be replacing the fence that exists there that's currently within their property lines?
To answer that, it's probably best that the lawyers and the applicant can better answer that. We have had conversations of that fence, but I believe they will be best to answer that.
Okay, we'll get to that at the public hearing, if that's okay with you, Mr. Smith.
Okay, yep. And then I'm also in line with that also, upon development, or during the development process, how will, or what is the city, or, I mean, I'm new to this, but from a developer perspective, to control any animals that are currently within that property, or even rodents, and the impacts to the neighboring community?
Again, Mr. Roy, that would be a question that they could probably answer better.
Okay.
I know that we have our code enforcement who will be out there monitoring construction, but they will probably be best to answer that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. And Council President Clark.
I do not have any questions at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's if there's no other questions from for staff, let's move to the public hearing. I'll open the public hearing at 6:16, and I think I have signed up to speak Mr. Horn.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the Planning Commission. For the record, Arthur Horn with the law firm of Shipley and Horn, here representing the applicant in this case. The applicant is Stanley Martin Holmes, represented here by Mr. Dan Jackson. The civil engineers for the project, CPJ, as was mentioned, represented by Ms. Amy Summer. The transportation engineer is Linhart Traffic, represented by Mr. Michael Linhart. The property owner is the Greater Laurel Professional Parks Limited Partnership, represented by Mr. Kevin McNulty. Mr. Chairman, I wanted to say on behalf of the applicant, we agree with all the findings and facts and conclusions set forth by the staff. We want to certainly thank Mr. Burrow for his thorough presentation and information. This planning commission may be familiar with the site because the project has been before this planning commission several times over the last few years. First, with a special exception in 2003. There was a preliminary site plan approved in 2024. And now we're here for the final site plan and landscaping plan for those 82 townhouses on the 8.2 acres. The property is located in the Commercial Village Activity Center. And as was mentioned, of those homes, 6 of them will be dedicated for the workforce housing. All of the agencies within the city of Laurel have reviewed and recommended approval for this. Again, we would ask your agreement with it as well. And trying to address some of the questions that were asked, I think Mr. Commissioner Smith asked, it's a relatively flat piece of ground. So it's not that we're not taking down any buildings or anything. So it wouldn't be when you talked about controlling rodents and varmints, it's just the grading of land that's occurring at the site. But there are regulations and stuff associated with that, and it will be followed to the fullest. You mentioned the fence that runs the property line. That issue came up in previous hearings. As it turns out, that those fences are on private property, HOA land. So the applicant would not be able to traverse on the individual property owner's lands to address the fence that's in that area. So that's our understanding of the situation. I think, and Mr. Burrow was correct in answering Chairman Wilson's question with reference to how individuals would know how they would know about the roads and stuff being private. It would all be a part of the homeowners association documentation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Just one follow-up. I just want to make sure. So as far as the fence that we asked about, that's the responsibility of the adjacent HOA. Is that my understanding?
Correct. That's my understanding, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Mr. Wilson, so I am a part of that community, and I am a part of the homeowners association within that community. And the homeowners association did do a land survey and determined that that property was the property line of that property that is being built on. So that's the reason why the question that's the reason why I brought up the question. We can have further conversations around that, but we determined that that property, that those fencings are within the property line of this project. Thank you.
Okay, so how are we going to leave this one, Mr. Smith? We going to take this offline between ECD and the two property owners?
We can.
Okay. Is that okay with the applicant to have another meeting about that?
Yes, actually the property owner is on. I don't know if he would.
Well, I was thinking it's the other property owner, right? There seems to be a conflict between this property owner and the adjacent property owner, is my understanding, right, Mr. Smith?
Yes, within the villages of Wellington, those properties where the fences are not owned by any owners within the villages of Wellington, according to our survey, and we can provide that artifact at your convenience. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Horn, then you guys can work that out to decide where that fence is. That shouldn't be too hard to figure out.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Horn, did anybody else from your team? I have you listed as here. Is that just a contingency, or would they like to speak?
I don't think they want to speak. They all agree with the recommendations and would be available if there are any questions. But they, in the interest of time and otherwise, we support the application and the conditions as listed.
Okay. Any other questions for staff or for the applicant? Okay. With that, if there's no other questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Chairman Wilson, this is Bill Wellford. I'll make a motion to approve the final site and landscape plan for 14251 and 14275 Park Center Drive as presented by the applicant and by staff with all of the requirements made by staff. There were several, but I'll just say including all of them.
And the resolution?
And the resolution, yes.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Chairman, John Kish here. I will second that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Kish. Ms. Quillen, please call it.
Mr. Welford,
Yes.
Mr. Spalding. I'm sorry, Mr. Kish,
Yes.
Mr. Spalding,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Wilson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you all very much. I appreciate it. I know these developments are we're running out of open space quickly, but it's good to see this going, and I wish everybody the best of luck. Looking forward to seeing these come up out of the ground.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
We're moving on to I had to close the public hearing. I'm sorry at say 6:24. Move on to agenda item number 4, which is the special exception application number 966 for 14368 Baltimore Avenue, is filed by Felicia Bivens, I believe, in care of Raising Cane's Restaurants LLC for our recommendation to the Board of Appeals. And is that Mr. Burrows again?
It's me, Sam Braden.
Oh, Mr. Braden, Deputy Director Braden.
Yes, sir.
Floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chair and Commission members. This is Sam Braden, the fourth Deputy Director with the Economic and Community Development Department, presenting the staff report. A special exception application for the property at 14368 Baltimore Avenue, Laurel, Maryland, 20707 was received in ECD on December 10th, 2024 by Raising Cane's Restaurant, LLC. The applicant is seeking special exception approval to establish a Raising Cane's restaurant with drive-through. The existing commercial standalone building is a former Red Lobster. It will be demolished and redeveloped. After the demolition, the property will be redeveloped into a Raising Cane's restaurant with a drive-through. On January 9th, 2025, staff sent a memorandum requesting comments to city departments: Laurel Department of Public Works, Department of Fire Marshal and Permit Services, and Laurel Police Department. A memorandum was also sent to the following outer agencies: State Highway Administration, Washington Suburban Sanitary Commission, Prince George's County Health Department, Prince George's Department of Permitting Inspections, Baltimore Gas and Electric Company, Verizon, Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission, Prince George's County Public Schools, Department of Capital Programs, and all comments can be found in the staff report. The applicant has acknowledged the comments and will make necessary revisions during the permitting process. On January 28th, 2025, a letter explaining the nature of the application and advising of the scheduled public hearings before the City of Laurel Planning Commission was sent by standard mail to all contiguous property owners. On January 23rd, 2025, documentation was received by the applicant attesting that a zoning sign has been placed on the subject property, has remained, and shall remain until a decision is reached by the Board of Appeals. Staff recommends the City of Laurel Planning Commission approve the special exception for 14368 Baltimore Avenue with the following conditions. Number one, the applicant shall obtain all required electrical and building permits for the City of Laurel office from the City of Laurel Office of the Fire Marshal and Permit Services. Number two, the applicant shall comply with all federal, state, and local laws and regulations for the protection of the use of the property. Number three, the applicant shall submit plans to the Plan Review Department at the Department of Permitting, Inspection, Enforcement on their website for the proposed food facility and apply online for a Health Department food service facility permit through the Prince George's County Momentum website. Number four, the applicant shall apply for a raised permit with the DPIE office prior to the demolition of the existing building. And number five, during the demolition construction phases of this project, no dust shall be allowed to cross over property lines and impact adjacent properties. Indicate intent to conform to construction activity dust control requirements as specified in the 2011 Maryland standards and specifications for soil erosion and sediment control. This concludes the reading of my staff report. The applicant is available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Braden. Let me go around to the various commissioners. Let me start with Mr. Kish.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have one question. We didn't talk about the parking for this new building that's going up. The main question is, how many handicap parking spaces will there be? I'm bringing this up because somebody brought to my attention today in that same area down there where this building will be going. There is a building, a building down there that's very, very busy. And as far as they're concerned, there's no handicap parking. Even though this does have a drive-through window, some people prefer to go inside the building, and there apparently is no. I have not seen this, so I didn't report it to anybody at City Hall, but I just wanted to ask about the handicap parking. How many spaces there will be for that? You have 20 parking spaces listed.
Mr.
So
Braden,
how many of those will be handicapped?
Mr. Braden?
Yes. Yes, that is, give me one moment because I know that this is located in a shopping center. That's the reason for the number of parking spaces that we do have. But give me just a moment to confirm the exact number of handicap spaces. That is something that if I can get back to you
Yeah, we can,
during the
Mr.
meeting,
Kish.
if I can get back to you,
Yeah, that's
and I
great.
can confirm the exact number. I know there is a specific amount given the location because it is in a shopping center. That has also impacted the overall number of parking spaces. So I'll get back to you with that exact number.
Okay, thank you. Let me, with your permission, Mr. Kish, I'll move to Mr. Welford.
Thank you. I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Grant is not here. I'm sorry. Mr. Spalding.
No, no questions at this time.
Thank you. Mr. Smith
No questions this time. Thank you.
and Council President Clark.
No questions at this time. Thank you.
Okay. Let me let Mr. Braden figure out how many. Let me while you're looking that up, Mr. Braden, I'm going to move to the public hearing. Open up the public hearing for agenda item number 4 at 6:32 p.m. And I think we have people here for the applicant. Maybe if I've got four or five names listed, but whoever wants to take the lead for the applicant.
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. Carly Landolfi on behalf of the applicant Raising Cane's.
Okay, maybe you or somebody from your team can answer the number of handicap spaces.
Certainly, I don't have that in front of me. Mike, you're handling traffic and circulation. Do you happen to have that?
Yes, good evening. Mike Lenhart with Lenhart Traffic Consulting. I think Emily Dean with Kimley Horn
Hi.
should be able to handle that.
Yeah, this is Emily Dean with Kimley Horn. We're the civil engineer on the project. We have provided 2 handicap spaces in accordance with federal ADA requirements. One will be van accessible and the other will just be a regular handicap space.
Okay, you get that, Mr. Kish?
Thank you. Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let me turn it back over to, I believe it was Miss Dean.
I'm sorry?
Oh, whoever was the lead for the applicant.
Landolfi.
Yes, so Carly Landolfi.
Landolfi, I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem. So we are here, as Mr. Braden said, on behalf of Raising Cane's, who submitted a special exception application for the development of an approximately 3,031 square foot restaurant with drive-through service in the PDA E zone. We're seeking your recommendation of approval to the Board of Appeals for this special exception.
All right.
Mr. Braden did an excellent job giving an overview of the project, so we don't want to take up too much of your time. Hopefully this is straightforward, but I do want to introduce our team. So my name is Carly Landolfi. I'm an attorney with McNamee Hosey, and we represent the applicant. I'm standing in for Matt Tedesco, who's the lead attorney on this project. Also from McNamee Hosey, we have Dominique Lockhart, who is our senior land use planner. From Kimley Horn, you've already been introduced to Emily Dean. She is our civil engineer on this project. And from Lenhart Traffic Consulting, Mike Lenhart, who you also briefly met, he's our traffic engineer. From Fredco Development Services, we have Felicia Bivens, and she does development consulting for the Raising Cane's. Before I get into the overview of the project, I do want to say thank you to the chair, vice chair, and commissioners for having us here to answer any questions. We know that this work is important and we appreciate you taking the time. And thank you to Planning Commission staff and specifically to Mr. Braden for your hard work putting together the staff report. So getting into the meat of the application, we are requesting a special exception for the development of a restaurant with drive-through service in the PDAE zone. The proposed Raising Cane's is located on the commercial pad along Baltimore Avenue within the Laurel Lake Center. The existing building on site is formerly the Red Lobster, and that will be raised. The Red Lobster restaurant, it closed sometime during the summer of 2024. It's currently vacant and unmanaged. So we're looking forward to using already developed land for this project. As outlined in our statement of justification and the staff report, the proposed use meets all of the applicable criteria and conditions for special exceptions as set forth in the Unified Land Development Code. We're excited for the third Raising Cane's location in Prince George's County. We believe it'll be a welcome addition to the community, and it will not only revitalize the Laurel Lake Center, but it's also an opportunity to provide new jobs in the area. We agree with the findings and recommendations of the staff report, including the recommended conditions. And we are prepared to go to the Board of Appeals as the next step in the special exception application process. For the sake of completeness, we adopt as part of our testimony our statement of justification, which we submitted with our application. And we request that the Planning Commission recommend approval to the City of Laurel Board of Appeals for special exception application number 966. Our team is here. We're happy to answer any questions you may have on the application. And if there are further questions about the handicap spaces, we can touch on that as well.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Let me just turn it over to the commissioners. Does anybody have any questions of the applicant?
Mr. Chairman, this is Bill Welford. Just out of curiosity, I think you said there are 3 in the Prince George County, or this will be the third one. How many Raising Cane restaurants are in the state of Maryland? And also, where is the next closest one to Laurel?
I'm going to turn that over to, I think either Felicia or Dominique may have that information. Ladies, can either of you speak to that question from Commissioner Welford?
Hi, this is Dominique. I believe Felicia Bivens would have that information handy.
Thank you. Felicia, I see you on there.
Yes, this is Felicia Bivens, representing Raising Cane's, and I do not know the answer to this question. I apologize, and I'm sitting in my car on the phone, so I would look it up really quickly. Emily may be able to help us with this because she's worked on our Maryland projects, and we have several in development, but I'm not sure off the top of my head the number that we have in Maryland and what is the closest to this location.
So this is Emily Dean again with Kimley Horn. We have worked, I believe, on 8 Raising Cane's to date. I think the last 3 of which are currently in construction are going to be in construction very soon. I think the other 2 in Prince George's County are in Forestville, Maryland, and in the city of Bowie, Maryland. I would imagine city of Bowie may be the closest one, but I'm not 100% sure. But those are the closest to Laurel.
Okay.
Yeah, there's one in Columbia.
One in Columbia.
Yeah, I just looked it up.
I apologize. Yep, there is one in Columbia as well. We've also done Westminster, Waldorf, and
There's one in
Gambrels.
Yeah, Gambrels also.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Welford, does that answer your question? Anybody
yes,
else from the commissioners have questions for the applicant? If there are no other questions for the applicant, I thank the applicant's team for joining us tonight. And let me close the public hearing at 6:39 p.m. And I'm willing to take a motion at this point, commissioners.
Mr. Chairman Wilson, this is Bill Welford. I'll make a motion to approve the special exception application number 966 for 14368 Baltimore Avenue, Raising Cane's Restaurant, to the Board of Appeals, Laurel of Laurel.
Thank you, Mr. Welford. Do I have a second?
This is
I will
Roy
second
Smith.
that, Mr.
Okay.
Mr. Wilson.
There was somebody ahead of you, John.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
Go ahead.
I'll defer. I defer.
Okay, Mr. Kish, are you seconding?
I don't like him deferring, but yes.
It's okay, John. And thank you. And Ms. Quillen, please call the roll.
Mr. Welford,
Yes.
Mr. Kish,
Yes.
Mr. Spalding,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Wilson.
I vote yes, and I thank everybody for their patience on this tonight. And if there's no other work in front of the commission, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
Bill Welford, I'll move to adjourn. Thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. Kish, Mr. Welford. Ms. Quillen, I don't think we need to call the roll. Anybody opposed to adjourning? We're good. Thank you, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks again
Good
for
night,
staff
everyone.
staying late again tonight. Thank you
Good
very
night.
much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you all.
Good
Well,
night.
next month.
Thank you very much.
All right.
See you, Council President.